Hey guys, so today we're going to talk a little bit about warning signs. So let's get into it. Now, what do I mean by warning signs? Well, I mean that when you apply for a job or anything of that nature, you may find that it's a little bit tricky to get people to be straight with you. It's very, very tricky, in fact. And that is something that I have learned over so far, at least. Basically every place I've been to, it's very, very tricky. Unless you know somebody who's actually working at the company, it's very tricky to get any type of honesty from the people that you are talking to, or who the people are interviewing you. And maybe that's not something that you care all that much about. If you are, if you're the sort of person who is more focused on getting a good salary or things of that nature and so forth, and this doesn't maybe matter all that much to you. But for people like myself who are more about having a good working environment and having the opportunity to learn things and working with relevant technologies and stuff of that nature, this kind of starts adding up. And all I want to do here is to share some of the warning signs that I have found and a little bit how I think about them. So let's just dive in first and foremost. One of the most critical things that you should always know is if anybody tells you, or if the job ad says something along the lines, we need somebody fast. If anybody tells you that they need somebody fast, that either means that the recruiter is going to go and do a half-cocked job, or alternatively the company itself is it's like there are fires burning absolutely everywhere. If companies go to the point where they need somebody fast, or they actually express that quickly, in my experience it usually means that there is I'm not saying the ship is sinking, but it is a catastrophe. Because usually the companies that I talk to that have had this approach where, yeah, I need somebody fast, they kind of just churn you through as quickly as possible. And that may be something you think is a good thing, but it's often not. It's very seldom that is the case, because what usually happens is that you're going to get into a position where you, especially if you're a junior, you get a lot of responsibility, a lot of demand on you very, very quickly, and the company is in the sensation of urgency, which usually produces a fairly hectic working environment. Other factors that I've seen warning signs, and this is my favorite one, this goes out for front-enders. If you ask, okay, so what's your status on testing, or what's the state of the code base or whatever, and asks things such of that nature. Or my favorite one is, oh, do you have any other people who do front-end work at your company? If they go anything like this, well, we dabble, or we have a healthy interest, but most primarily we are focused on the back end. What this translates into is that they have absolutely no idea what, most likely, or very often that's what I found, they have almost nobody at the company who knows anything that is remotely significant to the sort of modern day front-end development that is happening today. This is not me criticizing, remind you, this is not me saying that they should or anything like that. It's more what this translates into. What usually happens, at least that's what happened to me, is that they're literally looking for somebody to do all these things because they don't have anybody who can do that. And that's something that you should be aware of. And this is also why I keep telling you in every damn video that I make about this, guys, if you have this idea that you're going to go into JavaScript development and front-end and so forth and just make UI stuff and make things pretty and nice and so forth, you are in for a surprise, because nothing rots as quickly as JavaScript. Nothing rots as quickly as CSS. Nothing is so hard to maintain as the front-end code base. And usually what happens is that you never get to work in a nice code base. Actually, I would say that if you want to avoid these warning signs and just be a happy front-ender, you should be a freelancer or work as a consultant that only takes on greenfield projects. In other words, you are starting from scratch. Because if you've usually, when it comes to JavaScript and such things, it's not pretty, guys. I don't mind, but maybe you do. Anywho, that's a second good warning sign that you should be a little bit careful with, or rather you should at least know what you're getting yourself into. Now, these warning signs are of course not a given, but it is what I've found to be, it's fairly on the money. And the same thing kind of goes for when you work. Like, the honesty in the industry is, I suppose, as in any industry. If you go to a startup, whatever they tell you, you kind of have to read between the lines. I mean, if you have a small company, you're gonna have to brace yourself for a working environment that is most likely going to be fairly hectic. If you go to a big company, you're going to have to brace yourself for most likely a lot of overhead process and a lot of decision making, meetings, all that good stuff. So you kind of, after a little while, you learn these tiny little, what to look out for. But the big parts is, as I said, like, you just have a discussion with them, and especially when you're in the interview, make sure that you're asking things that feel relevant to you, and kind of just start there. I mean, these are just my warning signs. Your experiences may differ, but start by just asking questions when you're in that job interview. And after a little while, with a little bit of experience, you're going to start picking up on these tiny little details, because unfortunately you and I and everybody else, we live in a society where these tiny little white lies, they're just normal. And after a while you start learning them. Have a great day.